talk about sports, the show where we talk about entertainment. And then at the end, we bring it all together to talk some sports entertainment. We're your hosts. I'm Boris. And as always, I am joined by Matt.
Bonjour. How's everybody doing out there? We hope you're doing well. It's the post-mortem on Wrestlemania. It's the Mania weekend wrap-up. Boris, I'm still sick. You probably hear it in the voice a little more this time around, but you know what? I'm hanging in there. I'm trying my best to heal up so I can go home this weekend, see the parents, see the family. Life is good other than the sickness. How are you, big homie?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for asking. Yeah, so I'm a little under the weather, but I honestly think that it's just this change of weather that we've been getting. Like one day it's 15 degrees, the next day is minus 15 degrees. It's in super weird weather here, and as things are opening up, it just Toronto's actually pretty good. Toronto, I would have to say that like where we live, a lot of people are still masking up and whatnot, right? So I'm grateful for that. But yeah, the numbers are going up. Anyways, yeah, it's the mania, post-mania, the mania of the mania. It's kind of the show that we've been wanting to do all week, but it's here we are talking about WrestleMania weekend, kind of wrapping it up in a neat little package, sending it across and calling WrestleMania 38 adieu.
Yes. So, yeah, man. Yeah, it was an interesting weekend of wrestling. I actually do we're not going to do much sports talk on this one, but I do think we should just briefly, just really quick, just mention MLB season started today. So we're going to give you a full preview next week on baseball, a late preview. Also, man, quickly, you see any of Tiger today?
Yeah, he is. He's out there to prove something.
This man almost had his leg amputated 13 months ago, and he is 1 under at the Masters right now. Yep. There was talk that he might never golf a professional round again, and the fact that he's in the Super Bowl of golf within such a short window of time before such a devastating, traumatic injury. Man, it's just crazy. This is, honest to God, one of the craziest things imaginable in sports. If he makes the cut, it is one of the most impressive athletic feats of my lifetime.
Yeah. If he is anywhere near the top, I think that he's going to be happily retiring at the end of the weekend.
Man, I just cannot believe that Tiger Woods is not only golfing, but golfing well right now. In the Masters, he's 1 under. This guy, just the best athlete of my lifetime. I don't like golf that much. I've golfed twice in my life. I hit a couple nice shots that made me think I might be okay if I did a lot, but I'll never be rich enough or annoying enough to love golf. No, that's not fair. A lot of my best friends love golf a lot. But yeah, man, I'm not much of a golfer. That guy is still the best athlete I have ever seen in my lifetime.
Yeah, I'm a golfer. I golf.
Yeah? How are you? Are you good?
No, I'm not that good. I still haven't broken 100 just yet.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's my goal. 100. Once I break 100, I'm retiring, calling it a career.
I love it. That's a reasonable goal, big homie. But yeah, just a little bit of sports talk off the top. We're going to be back with a regular BAM next week. For now, big homie, let's just talk about some professional wrestling, the weekend that started on Thursday.
Yeah, man. The weekend that started on last Thursday, as we were recording BAM last week, we started watching some Bloodsport. We're not going to go through every show, but there's a couple highlights that I do want to do. So essentially, we're going to cover some Bloodsport. We're going to cover some Impact, Multiverse of Matches. We're going to cover the ROH Supercard of Honor. And then, because we're the BAM Boys, we have a list at the end. We're going to name you our top 5 matches from WrestleMania weekend, any promotion. So let's start with Bloodsport. We watched, I guess, half of the show live, actually sat down and watched it. The other, we were kind of recording and stuff. But what we did watch, I know it's a match that you kind of hinted that is going to end up on your list at the end of the year. That's good old Jon Moxley versus Biff.
Yeah, Jon Moxley, Biff Busick in Bloodsport. So if you're unfamiliar with the Bloodsport promotion, it's a GCW umbrella promotion. It's Josh Barnett's promotion, if I'm correct. I believe he is the booker, quote unquote. And Yeah, man, it's a no rope ring, and they have realistic MMA style fights basically, and the finishes are way more reminiscent of an MMA fight than they are of a professional wrestling match, with the referee flying in because the man is knocked out and like stopping a ground and pound, etc. So I love the Bloodsport product. It's very different from a lot of the things out there, and this may have been the best Bloodsport match of all time, at least the best that I've seen.
Yeah, no, it was really good. It was really well done. Yeah, what always interests me about Bloodsport are the combinations of wrestlers. So, I remember a few years ago it was Matt Riddle against Minoru Suzuki. Like that match. Oh, exactly. It was just amazing to watch. This show, though, had a very interesting lineup. All right, so, we had Minoru Suzuki versus Chris Dickinson and kind of like a rematch, a good old feud. John Moxley versus Biff Busick, as we talked about. Josh Barnett versus Jonah was a very interesting combination.
Yeah, definitely. Not the in this style too. Very, very interesting match, and it was pretty good.
Yep. Another match that we were able to catch live, and I've never seen this guy wrestle too much, but I've heard about him in some circles, and that's Yuya Uemura.
Yeah, Yuya Uemura defeats Speedball Mike Bailey in another solid match. Yeah, man, it's like you said, so many different matchups. We saw J.R. Kratos versus Timothy Thatcher, which was actually really good. We saw Marina Shafir, next opponent of Jade Cargill, have a solid match against Zeta Zhang, who I like a lot.
Yep, John Hannigan versus Simon Gotch. Remember Simon Gotch?
Excuse me. No, I do not. Who is that man? No, of course I do. Former vaudevillain versus Johnny Mundo. What a match that was. Actually, It wasn't that great.
No, it wasn't that. It wasn't. It was just the. It was more like the combination was interesting. Someone who's making a real name of herself, especially in Impact. You had Masha Slamovich versus Janae Kai. I really enjoy Janae Kai. She's got like that kickboxing style. She's shown up on AEW a couple times. Actually, she was one of Jade Cargill's opponents. And I kind of felt bad for Janae Kai because she got zero offense in that match.
Yeah, pretty much zero, eh? Like literally, like not one move.
Yeah. Another person that has been getting a lot more attention in the indie scene that I was finally able to sit down and watch was Ninja Mac.
Yeah, Ninja Mac, who also was going to be on the Ring of Honor card that we're about to talk about. I like Ninja Mac. He reminds me a lot of Blitzkrieg.
Yes, he does. Yes, right? He does. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so let's talk about Minoru Suzuki versus Chris Dickinson. Man, Chris Dickinson
surprising.
So hated in that crowd because Suzuki is a god here in North America.
Especially in a place like Bloodsport, where they're going to know the deal with Minoru Suzuki, right? And Chris Dickinson was coming in there. He was fired up as soon as he got in the ring. In retrospect, you could see why he was so excited to get in there, because Chris Dickinson basically knocks out Minoru Suzuki.
Yep.
The ref stoppage.
Yeah, it was a complete ref stoppage. And what's, a more impressive note is that, I think last weekend was Chris Dickinson's first weekend back after a really bad hip injury. So, seeing him in a blood sport type event where it's a little more on the rough side, it was good to see that he's not only looking good, but, he can fight.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very excited to see him back. He's a pretty good wrestler. You know what I mean? I don't know where his career is going to go, unfortunately, but I think he could be an asset to AEW. They're so bloated. He's a really good indie wrestler right now, and that's good enough.
Yep, exactly. So that's basically Bloodsport in a nutshell. It was a great way to start the weekend, let me tell you that.
Oh, for sure. Definitely. One of the strongest shows. Definitely the most unique show that I saw all weekend.
Yeah, exactly. And the unfortunate part is just because of timing. On Friday there was the Hall of Fame and SmackDown and ROH and Impact all in one night. I wasn't able to really catch Joey Janela's shows and stuff like that. So, there's still some wrestling I want to watch, but
So you didn't see any GCW?
No, I didn't. Not much. Not much outside of that. Yeah.
Okay.
I heard about Buff Bagwell, quote unquote, wrestling.
Yeah. So I tried to watch some of the clusterfuck. I enjoyed it for what it was, but as soon as they started doing like the COVID spots, I just stopped watching it. I was just like, this is no longer for me. This is actually just making me mad. So I'm out of here. But yeah, unfortunately I did not last long enough to see Sean Ross Sapp and Denise Salcedo get in there, which would have been fun. But that actually did lead to a fun conversation on the Wrestling Observer board with Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez, where Meltzer, I believe, kind of hinted for the first time that AEW has reached out to Brian Alvarez to wrestle. That is a fact, apparently.
Interesting.
So that's interesting. That is interesting.
Very
I think it was brought up in the thread, and I agree with this. I bet you that Alvarez was going to be in the first Casino Battle Royale.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case.
Something like that. But yeah, it's just funny. Alvarez has not done it mostly because all of the fans who say Alvarez is paid by AEW, I assume anyway. But man, he was a wrestler first. I think he could do it.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, I think one of the most anticipated shows, and clearly the numbers said, so this show was up against WWE, many WWE shows, and a lot of other indie shows. But that's Ring of Honor, the Supercard of Honor. It's the yearly show that happens on WrestleMania weekend. And this year, it was kind of a little different. It kind of was the anniversary show, plus Supercard of Honor, plus, the ushering in of the Tony Khan era of ROH.
Yeah, it was like a poor man's ECW one-night stand in some ways. It was kind of like an ROH one-night stand, 2006, where they restarted the brand.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, considering everything that it was up against, it ended up getting about 20,000 buys. That's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive.
That's definitely an encouraging sign for sure.
Yeah, it was like, it's a good start, and I guess a lot of people were interested to kind of see what Tony Khan's ROH was going to look like. And right away, I have to say, I noticed one thing about ROH. That was the production. The production value went up tenfold.
100% agree with that. Yeah, and that was always the fatal flaw with Ring of Honor. So if they're addressing that, and they have, great start.
Yep, because the wrestling has never been an issue. The commentators have never been an issue. You and I were talking about this. I love Ian Riccaboni. I think he is one of the best in the business right now.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that. He's knowledgeable. He's got a great voice, like not just in terms of his actual speaking voice, but he's got a personality. He's like a stand-up baby face kind of announcer. I like his work a lot.
Yep, and Caprice Coleman has kind of grown on me. Like, he's just there, and it's the combination of Caprice and Ian that works. If Caprice were with anyone else or alone, I'd tune out. But it's Ian Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman that, to me, it just works.
It's a good call, man. You know what? I actually think this was the best Caprice Coleman I've ever heard. It seemed like he was more confident. He had more jokes. I don't know what it was, but he had a really good night. This was the best Caprice Coleman I can remember.
It was an audition. That's why.
Good call.
No, I agree with you 100% on that note. Like Caprice was great. Ian Riccaboni was great as always. And we got Bobby Cruz as the ring announcer.
That's always fun, yeah. Yeah, the original, the OG, right? Ring of Honor announcer. So for this one, we can do, I think, the whole card. Not review. We'll just tell you the results at least. I'm not going to review every single match, but
no, exactly. All right, so the pre-show had Blake Christian versus Colt Cabana. Colt Cabana beats Blake Christian in about 8 minutes 10 seconds. Did you watch this match?
I did watch this match. I like me some Blake Christian. He's a good young wrestler, and Colt Cabana. Good to see him on this Ring of Honor show.
I have this wish. Like, I've never been the biggest Colt Cabana fan, but I really hope that he just goes back to ROH full time.
That's interesting. I think that's probably where he will be best suited.
Yeah, God bless him, doing whatever he does with the Dark Order and whatever, but I just think that the best use of Colt Cabana is in ROH as a coach, as a mentor, as a wrestler, as a character.
100% agree with you. That's his home. It's always been his home.
Yep. All right. The next match was a women's match. It was AQA versus Miranda Alizé. This match was a little rough. AQA ends up winning at 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Miranda Alizé took a nasty-looking shooting star press. Honestly, one of two things happened. Either she was legit injured or she had the best selling of the entire weekend.
Oh, no, I actually missed the finish on this one. I got up and grabbed something to drink. But yeah, man, that's disappointing to hear. Jeez, I didn't even know that.
Yep. All right, the next match was Eli Isom and Cheeseburger versus Toa Leona and Khan. Yes, that Khan. And now it's official. Toa Leona and Khan are now associates of Tully Blanchard.
I like how Tully Blanchard went from like distinguished wrestler types FTR to big fucking monsters. He now manages 3 monsters.
You know what this reminds me of?
What's that?
Paul Ellering with Authors of Pain.
Yes, interesting. It does have that kind of vibe for sure. Like the brains behind the brawn.
Yep, exactly. So anyway, this was Toa, Leona, and Khan's kind of coming out party. And oh man, they just destroyed Eli Isom and Cheeseburger in 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Leona hit a Samoan spike on Isom, and that was pretty much it. Very quick, very short match. After the match, Blanchard said that the fans saw 2 of the most dynamic wrestlers in the world. He said the fans would see the 3rd member of Tully Blanchard Enterprises later in the night.
Nice. And indeed we did. But yeah, solid match and a solid pre-show.
Yep. All right. We got a video package airing about the interim ROH Women's World Championship match between Willow Nightingale and Mercedes Martinez. Hey, I said the name properly.
Oh, you did it, buddy.
Yep.
Nothing's going to stop us now.
Exactly right. That's it. Show's over. All right. The next match was Dalton Castle versus Joe Hendry. Honestly, for some reason, I had a feeling that we were going to see Dalton Castle, but it was good to actually see him in this show in some shape, way, or form.
I actually forgot that this match existed, which shows you how much it's stuck in my mind. I did watch it, but I agree with that point, man. Dalton Castle is a Colt Cabana type. He's got to stay in Ring of Honor.
Yep, exactly. So Dalton Castle ends up beating Joe Hendry in about 10 minutes. This match was okay. Castle was super, super, super over with the crowd. We got a kind of a promo, and I have to ask you, what do you think of the combination of Bandito and Chavo Guerrero Jr.?
It's not that bad. I think Bandito probably needed a mouthpiece. Chavo is not the best promo, but he's better than nothing. So, yeah, it's okay.
Yep. So that was the pre-show. Very strong pre-show. But then we got right down to business. The meat and potatoes, as they say. The first match of the main show was Shane Swerve Strickland versus Alex Zane. It was the 2022 NXT Invitational.
Exactly right. Yes, sir. And Swerve the Realist definitely was going to win this match. It was pretty clear. He's getting the push, the big push. But this is a solid match.
Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed this match a lot. Strickland gets a JML driver. He gets the pin in about 12 minutes. Really strong match, in my opinion. You know, these two, I think, were just out there to have fun, and that's exactly what they gave us, the viewers.
Yeah, exactly. It was a solid match. It's not like they were just fucking around out there, but I know what you mean. Yeah, it's definitely a solid exhibition of pro wrestling to start the show.
Yep. All right, the next match was Ninja Mac, who we talked about from Bloodsport, against Tully Blanchard's 3rd associate. That's none other than a returning Brian Cage.
The Machine, Brian Cage, beats the shit out of this jabroni Ninja Mac. Very fun match.
Yep, it was a
3-minute little squash.
Yeah, 2 minutes, 50 seconds. He hits the drill claw, gets a clean pin, really puts him over. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this squash. It was a well-done squash.
Definitely, 100% agree. And it's interesting to see Brian Cage back. I wonder if he's going to be strictly Ring of Honor, if he's going to go back to AEW.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to kind of see the dynamics of how people are used moving up and down, right? Like, you know, obviously ROH is in canon. to AEW. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how they handle ROH. Is it going to be like the little brother, the step brother, the ugly little sister? It'll be interesting to kind of see how they treat it.
For sure. I'm thinking it's going to be straight up NXT developmental before too long, but we'll see.
Yep. All right. The next match was Jay Lethal versus Lee Moriarty.
Jay Lethal versus Lee Moriarty. Awesome match. And it's just like you said, man. We saw some Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt on AEW last night. We also saw highlights of this show on Dynamite. So,
yep. Lee Moriarty is someone I really want to see more of on regular AEW TV.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's their young guys are who is hurt by the log jam at the top. But at the same time, Lee Moriarty, as good as he is, he does need still to develop, to figure out some things in his game. Although I 100% agree with you, man. I want to see this guy more on TV. He's really, really good.
Yep. And this is one of those matches where it's like, it started off good. I'm not saying at any point was this match not good, but it just got better as the match went on.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Definitely picked up some steam, picked up pace. Really solid wrestling match. Jay Lethal wins 14 minutes and 15 seconds.
Yep. The next match was for the interim ROH Women's World Championship. Just remember, Deonna Purrazzo is the ROH Women's Champion as well. So this match featured Willow Nightingale, who was up against Roxy in the finals versus Mercedes Martinez. We all know about Mercedes Martinez. This match was something to behold.
Yeah, it was a very good match. Definitely a great showing by Willow. I like her work a lot. And Mercedes Martinez versus Deonna Purrazzo is going to be a fun match too, whenever that happens.
Yep, exactly. We're going to talk about the whole women's picture in wrestling because something very interesting happened at the Impact show. So, we'll see exactly where they're going to end up going with this. But I think, Matt, we're going to be talking about this next match for a long time to come. That was Jay Briscoe and Mark Briscoe, the Briscoes, Dumb Boys, versus FTR, Dax Harwood, and Cash Wheeler for the ROH tag titles.
This match was fucking brilliant. 27 minutes and 25 seconds. To me, it felt like a hybrid of actually, I think Brian Alvarez said this too, so I don't want to steal his point, but I swear to God, I thought this while I was watching it. It felt like a hybrid of the 70s and the 80s with modern moves, with today's move sets. It was just a perfect mix of the old and the new. A brilliant match. This is my match of the year right now, and this is a 5-star match. I will go as far to say it is the best match of either team's career.
Yeah. And then we were at NXT 2016 in Toronto. We saw DIY versus the Revival. That to me was my favorite Revival match up until Friday.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that's pretty fair. Yeah, before we were even buddies, although we might have seen each other out and about.
We probably nodded. Hey.
Yeah, exactly.
Bitch.
Yeah. Oddly rude. I don't think I said that, but yeah, no, I agree with you 1,000,000%, buddy. Yeah, that was the old best match of FTR's career, and they surpassed it. I think the Briscoes, probably their best matches came against Kevin Steen and El Generico, in my opinion, and you could pick any one of those that could contend for 5 stars, 2 or 3 of them. The cage match and the street fight, or was it no DQ? I think there's a street fight perhaps in Boston. That is literally one of the craziest matches that I've ever seen that's ever happened. And the only reason why I wouldn't give it 5 stars is because it doesn't look like anyone sells anything. It looks like they're actually just fighting for their lives. But this was a 5-star, beautiful professional wrestling match. If you have not seen this match yet, go watch it today. Watch it as soon as this podcast is over. Watch it with the podcast on. Actually, don't do that. It deserves your full attention. Listen to the podcast first, then go watch it.
Yeah, exactly. No, this match was honestly tag team perfection. Dare I say, the excellence of execution, this match.
The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be.
Yeah, I like what we're doing here, you see? No, but this match, honestly, I can't say enough good. One of the chants I hate the most in professional wrestling crowds is Fight Forever. But honestly, if there was ever a match that, number one, you weren't exactly sure how it was going to finish, even though you had a guess. And number two, you just really didn't want to finish. It was this match.
Absolutely. And Fight Forever, I liked the first time, which I'm almost positive was NXT TakeOver Dallas, Shinsuke versus Sami Zayn. I'm pretty sure that's where Fight Forever started. And it was like a beautiful, organic moment. And you know what I mean? It's the first time that I don't know who the first person was that started saying it. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's become annoying in the intervening 6 years.
Yeah. And the other thing that I really enjoyed about this match, they respected the finishers.
Absolutely. That's what I mean by that, like 70s and 80s kind of style, the blood, the brawling, but also like the structure of the match and the fact that they weren't just doing 450 double stomps.
Yep. And the Briscoes went up for a doomsday device. It got broken up. FDR hit the big rig on Jay, got the win, and as Matt said, 27 minutes, 25 seconds to win the ROH Tag Team titles.
Yeah, I can't say enough about it, and we're going to do our list, but yeah, obviously match of the weekend because it was the best match of the year, and it was the best match of these two teams' careers, in my opinion.
And then, I guess not too many people surprised after the match. The Young Bucks show up. They super kick the Briscoes. Brandon Cutler was filming. The Bucks hit a BT trigger for their finisher. FTR returns to the ring, runs them off. So it was a nice little, it's your stereotypical send-off by the Bucks.
Absolutely, yeah. And, yeah, well, I wonder how much of the Young Bucks, if any, we're going to see in Ring of Honor. I would assume a little bit. I assume they'll dip their toes back in there.
Yep. You see, what the most impressive part for me about this match was, before the weekend started, as soon as this match was signed, we knew that it was going to be a great match. I had my expectations super high, dude. Like, way too high sometimes. And it even surpassed what I thought this match was going to be.
Yeah, man, I know what you mean. Like, I was hoping that it would have been close to this good. I was also a little worried because it kind of seemed like, and maybe I was just getting worked by the angle, but it kind of seemed like there was some real heat and some bad blood. And just knowing the Briscoes versus Kevin Steen and El Generico matches, where I swear to God, go back and watch it. It really seems like they're not being the most professional all the time. I was a little worried, but that was dumb, markish of me. I'm a mark, Boris. They done worked me. There was no bad blood. It was just a brilliant performance between four amazing professional wrestlers.
See, I think the Briscoes are the type of team that they get so into character and so into it that when they're out there, they really do fucking hate you.
Yeah, man, that's interesting. That might be it. But guess what? That's great. That's what wrestling used to be. And that's why people love Eddie Kingston. That's why people love like a hard-hitting Bryan Danielson or John Moxley match. Like that's brilliant. That's what the whole thing is supposed to be.
Yep. So after that match, I needed a smoke. I needed a break. But a match that I was super interested in happened, and that's Red Titus versus Minoru Suzuki for the ROH TV title. And I was thinking, like, as the whole Young Bucks stuff was happening, I feel sorry for the next match.
Yeah, but you know what? It was a smoke break for Minoru Suzuki, basically. He made quick work of this schmuck.
Yeah, 6 minutes. 6 minutes is all he needed to become the ROH TV champion to win his first North American title. There you go. Minoru Suzuki. We're going to be seeing more of him, I guess.
At 3 years old, that's so dope.
Isn't it? Isn't it crazy that him and Chris Jericho are the same age?
It actually is insane. There's a dream match. I would pay money to see that.
Same here. All right, my boy, Josh Woods and his ROH Pure Rules Championship versus Wheeler Yuta. This was another match that I was really looking forward to.
Yeah, same. Wheeler Yuta has really stepped his game up over the past couple months. And a tough beat for your boy here, Boris. #1 draft pick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it sucks. So Wheeler Yuta is your new ROH Pure Champion. He won the match in 12 minutes, 55 seconds. This was a fun match. I think this was a really, really good match. Good showing for Josh Woods, but I think the MVP of this match by far was Wheeler Yuta.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's really like it's crazy to see him just gain confidence with every match in front of your eyes, eh? Like, yeah, Wheeler Yuta is really he's becoming something pretty special.
You know, there's something to be said about watching, and this is kind of what I liked about NXT. You know, and it's seeing wrestlers develop into whatever they're going to become. It's why I've always loved independent wrestling.
Definitely, man. Because yeah, we're seeing these people a lot of times in their like wrestling infancy. So it is so cool to watch. But that's why I still stick it out with NXT, man, because it's a little bit of the same, you know.
It can be. It really can be sometimes. NXT something, but yeah, no. I think that this was a fantastic match. It was a good match. You know, this match and the previous match, the ROH TV title, it was kind of like your lull, and not in a. It wasn't an entertaining way. It was just a well needed lull because the next match was your main event, and it was your title for title ROH World Champion Bandito with Chavo Guerrero versus original OG ROH champion holder Jonathan Gresham for the undisputed ROH World Championship.
I get the whole gimmick, and he was literally holding the original title physical belt, but it's funny because Bandito is actually the original quote unquote champion and Gresham is the interim champion. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, man, I thought this was really good on like friggin' what, 75, 80, 85, 90% of wrestling shows that you ever watch. This would be the best match of the show.
99 out of 100 times. This match would be your match of the night. But that one time that that FTR, I was about to like Bret Hart and say the FTR, that the FTR faces the Briscoes, that match is going to be match of the night, match of the year, match of the decade, for God's sake. Like, seriously. But yeah, this match, so good. The one thing about this match, and this match, up until Sunday evening when I really sat down and started thinking about it, talking to some people, and I should have just stuck to my guts. But this match did have like a clash of styles, and it worked to a certain extent. But the one thing that did get to me about this match, Matt, is what?
Oh, the sitting around waiting for the next move, Boris. Yep. Oh no.
There was quite a bit of that. And I think that's my one knock on Bandito, and especially his 21 plex.
Oh, the 21 plex is rough. It's like, I don't like that move at all, actually. It's such a convoluted setup. It makes the 619 look like a headlock takeover, Boris, or something.
It really does. It really does. Like, it looks cool. Is it effective? I'm not sure. But it's just the setup just takes way too much time. And Gresham really, I don't know whether it was the cameras or what, but when they did the 21 plex near the end of the match, it just kind of took me out of the match a little bit.
I agree with that, man. Yeah, completely. It was still a very good match, though. Like we said, like one of the best matches you're going to see all weekend for sure. And on 80% of wrestling shows have been the best match on the show. So nothing to complain about. A great wrestling match. But I think your nitpicks are valid, buddy. I agree with all that.
Yeah, so Gresham ends up winning in 24 minutes and 50 seconds to become the unified ROH World Champion. Excellent match to end a very excellent show. And it was awesome seeing Kerry Silken at the end presenting Gresham with both titles. It was cool to see Bandito shaking Gresham's hand, and everyone was happy up until Jay Lethal comes out. He interrupts Gresham. He essentially kind of shit talks Gresham. Says, I taught you everything you know. I'm better than you. You're a piece of crap. So I kind of I'm a fan of heel Lethal.
Yeah, heel Lethal he's pretty dang good. I would agree with that for sure, man. Yeah, I think it needed to be done as well. Like, I don't know if he's better as a heel or face. I'm not super familiar with Jay Lethal. Obviously I know Jay Lethal, but I'm not like a Jay Lethal expert here. I couldn't really tell you where he's best, but right now for this moment, he had to turn where they need him. Like they're too strong on the babyface side. They needed a big number one heel for Ring of Honor. This was a great decision.
Yep. Sanjay Dutt comes out. He tries to keep the peace, ends up turning on Jonathan Gresham. They beat Gresham up. Lee Moriarty runs out. He gets double teamed. And then we get a debut of none other than Samoa fucking Joe.
Yeah, man. Samoa Joe in Ring of Honor. That was an unbelievable moment. That was so cool.
Yeah, it was so cool. It was so cool to watch. Obviously, he clears the ring. He has his moment in the sun, and Samoa Joe is back.
Yes, sir. Yeah, very exciting to see what's coming next with Ring of Honor. They did it. They achieved their goal. They had a really good show with an absolute all-time classic of a wrestling match, and they built intrigue for what's coming next. So, home run by Ring of Honor here, in my opinion.
Grand slam, in my opinion, honestly.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of ROH. You know, it holds a very I have some fond memories of attending ROH shows, the infamous garbage strike show at Ted Reeves, the multiple times I was able to see New Japan stars. You know, so I've always loved going to ROH shows. I've loved watching their pay-per-views, but you know, seeing that not only are they in good hands with Tony Khan, but Tony Khan has already invested back into it. Like, the production value was excellent, and the matches were, you know, dare I say, it felt vintage ROH.
Nice. Vintage ROH. That's a great compliment. I think it felt more like ROH than ROH has felt in the last couple of years.
Yep, exactly.
Felt more like ROH than Pandemic ROH did.
Pandemic ROH honestly hurt my soul.
And honestly hurt their company.
Yeah, exactly. So, any final words before we move on?
No, nothing really, other than to say, like, this was one of the best possible outcomes. I guess they could have had 10 5-star matches instead of only one 5-star match, but I think this was the best possible outcome for the ROH show. Super excited to see what's next. Good job, Tony Khan. He's a good wrestling booker. He's good at this.
For now. All right.
Yes.
We're going to talk about the Impact Multiverse of Matches show. This was happening just before / at the same time as the ROH Super of Honor. And Impact has been hitting doubles all year.
Nah, nice. Yeah, I think you're right about that. Like, solid doubles up the line. I unfortunately have not watched this show yet, but I'm just looking at this card, and I'm going to sit down and watch this entire show, I think. At least a couple matches on this thing.
You can skip the first one because Jordan Grace was in it. I know how you feel about that. But it was a short match.
Yeah.
But I don't mind Jordan Grace because they're using her the way that China was used.
Yeah, exactly. And like, yeah, to be fair, I don't dislike Jordan Grace. That's like it's like the intergender wrestling thing. But when Jordan Grace is one of 5 people in an Ultimate X match, it's way different than like a 1v1 man versus woman match, you know, like.
Yeah. And this match was actually short. So the show opened up with an Ultimate X match for the X Division title. Trey Miguel versus Jordan Grace versus Chris Bay versus Blake Christian versus Vincent versus Rich Swann. What a match. What a lineup of wrestlers.
Yeah, geez. An eclectic bunch for sure. That's funny.
Yep. And so Trey Miguel ends up winning this match in around 7 minutes and 20 seconds. This was your typical Ultimate X match. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean that it's a spot fest clusterfuck of a match.
Absolutely. And like, they usually go like twice the length of that at least. So it's funny they like squeezed in an Ultimate X match to start the show.
Yeah, it was kind of weird, but you know, overall this show felt kind of like a stepping stone towards the Rebellion pay-per-view, and not like that's not a bad thing, right? But it kind of felt like a house show, a very strong house show, very good stories, and it was a good stepping stone as they move to Rebellion, which I think is going to be a phenomenal show.
Interesting. I have no idea what's coming up on the Rebellion card.
Yep. All right, so that was a very, very, very good match. Then we go to a match that we saw coming, and it was happening here at the Multiverse of Matches. And that's Nick Aldis and Mickie James versus Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green.
Yeah, I kind of thought this was going to main event the next NWA pay-per-view or something. But I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad it was just a random match on this Impact show. How was it?
It was good. It was actually pretty good. It was better than I thought it was gonna be. Right? Like I don't know. Oftentimes these mixed tag matches just don't hit. They're usually a swing and a miss. But this match, it was a good single.
Nice. I think we'll all take that.
Yeah, it was a fun match. And, Nick Aldis now Nick Aldis has something to go on because they end up getting the win. Nick Aldis and Mickie James ends up beating Cardona and Green at about 8 minutes.
I would have thought that would have went the other way, but that's
right?
good. It's like you said, they kind of got to get something in this feud. So
yeah, exactly. To me, it just ultimately ends up meaning that Nick Aldis isn't going to get the NWA title back.
Not right away, anyway.
Yeah. All right, so Deonna Purrazzo gets interviewed. She's pissed off that ROH held a match earlier without her. She's even more pissed off that Mercedes Martinez is the interim women's champion. And then she wonders who's going to answer the champ challenge. This leads us to one of my favorite matches of the weekend, which was Mike Bailey versus Alex Shelley.
Yeah, of all the matches on this card, this is the one that I need to see the most, I feel like.
Yeah, it was such a good match. Went about 15 minutes, 2 seconds. It was a lot of fun. Dude, Mike Bailey is one of the most intense wrestlers. His offense just looks insane at times.
It looks so good. He's completely unique. There's only one Mike Bailey ever in pro wrestling. The Karate Kid look, the Karate Kid offense. He's got offense like a Mortal Kombat character. He's something else, man. He's a treat. I'm so glad he's allowed to go back overseas to the United States, especially, and do his thing. I guess he was always going overseas, right? It was only the States he couldn't get in.
The States where he couldn't get in, yeah. And the commentators were even talking about that, and I kind of like that because it adds to the intrigue. Because it's like this guy was the biggest kept secret outside of the United States, and we got him. Like they're really, they're really trying to Josh Alexander him.
Well, that's good. It worked for Josh Alexander, and he's as talented as Josh Alexander, if not more. So,
yep. And it was one of those matches where both men were so equal in every way. The end of the match actually didn't bother me too much because Bailey ends up winning with an inside cradle.
Oh, nice. That's fair. Like, yeah, if you earn it, that's one thing. If you get there in storytelling, that's one thing. If you do a roll up finish because you're lazy and you want to get out of something, that's a lot worse.
Yep, exactly. And then that's what it was. Like the story was these guys are so 50-50 in everything that they do. They know each other so well that this surprise is the way that I'm going to beat you. So I really enjoyed that story. I can't wait for you to watch this match. It was such a good match. After this match, we had Tennille Dashwood and Madison Rayne versus Rosemary and Jessica Havoc versus Tasha Steelz and Savannah versus Lady Frost and Giselle Shaw in a 4-way for the Knockouts Tag Team titles.
Nice. Love us some Rosemary here on the BAM podcast. I actually just loaded up that card for Rebellion 2022. I'm seeing that Rosemary's getting a title shot for the Impact Knockouts World Championship. Hope she brings the belt home. Go Rosemary.
Yep. See, I'm fine with this match. The one thing is that, they made such a huge deal of Giselle Shaw, and she seems to be in a losing streak right now. They made such a huge deal of Lady Frost, and she seems to be in a little bit of a losing streak right now. That's the one thing that kind of sucks, but, there could only be one winner in these types of matches, right? So, I would have kept Lady Frost and Giselle Shaw out of this match, but whatever. Match was only 9 minutes. It's not going to hurt anyone at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. It's a random fatal 4-way tag team match isn't going to ruin anyone's career. I agree with you there, though. Is someone what are they now? The not the Iconics anymore. The Inspiration now, right?
Yep.
Are one of them injured? Why were they not in this match?
Because I actually I'm not sure. One of them kind of was injured for a little bit. They haven't really appeared too much recently on TV.
Interesting. That sucks because they're great.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, remember when you got them fired?
No, that never happened. That's a ridiculous thing to say.
All right. The next match was actually a match that I was really looking forward to, because when don't I look forward to a Tomohiro Ishii match in North America? His opponent, but this was probably this guy's best match that I've seen in a really long time, probably since his Noah days. That's Tomohiro Ishii versus Eddie Edwards.
Meh on Eddie Edwards. Interesting. Yeah, the Wolves, the American Wolves, he and Davey Richards. Maybe I'm with you on the meh. I don't know.
He's not bad.
I like Eddie more than I like Davey.
Yeah, I think I do too. They're just right now, Davey Richards seems to have a lot of attention on him. Like MLW's done a really good job of hyping his return.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Eddie Edwards is a little bit lost in the shuffle, although he did just turn heel, right? And join the Ring of Honor. So or like the Ring of Honor invaders that are now in Impact. Right?
Honor No More. Yep.
Yes.
So what I absolutely loved about this pre-match was every wrestler has to represent a promotion, because it's a multiverse of matches. All promotions collide. Ishii obviously was representing New Japan Pro Wrestling. Eddie Edwards representing Noah.
Interesting. Wow, that's fun.
Yeah, it was a nice little change there, right? So this match went about 15 minutes and 2 seconds, and it was exactly what you would think from an Ishii match. Dude, these guys just beat the shit out of each other.
I believe it, for sure. God damn it, I love Tomohiro Ishii.
Yeah, so this match was a lot of fun. Ishii ends up getting the win, and it was so freaking good. It was so freaking good. He ends up getting the brain buster for a very clean win, and like I said, it went about 15 minutes. It was such a good fight. If you like big, they're not even that big, but if you like seeing tough guys going at it, this is a good match for you to check out.
I'm not sure if we're ever going to see it. It will break my heart if we never get Tomohiro Ishii versus Walter Gunther. That is the match I want the most in all of wrestling. People talk about dream matches. There's my dream match. Walter versus Ishii.
Walter versus Ishii.
Yes. Not Gunther.
Not Gunther. Not this watered down version of Walter. All right. The next match was Jonah and Josh Alexander versus Moose and PCO.
Yeah, interesting little tag team match. Baby faces versus heels on top of the Impact card. I guess PCO is not really on top of the Impact card, but man, yeah. How was this one?
This match was interesting. I don't know. It's Josh Alexander carried 3 other people into a half decent match.
Nice. That's. Jonah's strange, you know, like he's a good wrestler, but he is limited in a lot of ways. And I can definitely see that. Moose is coming along though, man. He's
getting
actually
better. He's getting better. Honestly, he's improving a lot. And I would say he's not a great wrestler, but he's also not as bad as, Dan the Mouth would have you believe.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so Josh and Jonah ends up winning in about 12 minutes, 45 seconds. Man, PCO, we always talk about Kevin Owens, and I honestly feel like Kevin Owens is going to be PCO in about 30 years.
Yeah, man, like these French Canadians are made of like vulcanized rubber. They're like hockey pucks. You can't break them. You can't fucking bust them. I don't know, man. It's absolutely insane what PCO puts himself through in every single match he's in.
Yep, exactly. It was an okay match. All right, Deonna Purrazzo comes out. It's her champ challenge. Who comes out? It is Fabi Apache from AAA. This match is quite short, just about 8 minutes, 56 seconds. Deonna Purrazzo ends up winning. It was all right. It was a fun little match. It felt like a AAA match.
Nah, not necessarily a compliment.
Yep, exactly. I don't mean it as a dig. Also, I just mean that it just AAA is it's a style. It's a thing that happens sometimes.
It is definitely a style, especially like the women's matches in AAA are usually trash.
Yeah. All right. Deonna Purrazzo gets on the mic. She calls out Mercedes Martinez, or she calls Mercedes Martinez a paper champion. And then we get the return of Taya Valkyrie.
The former Frankie Monet. That's awesome. And yeah, she needs to get a little push ski, hopefully in Impact Wrestling. She's was sorely missed in the wrestling business for a couple months there.
100%. All right, then the sub main event was Chris Sabin versus Jay White.
All right, buddy, you tell us about this. I gotta go refill this water. Lead us through this Sabin versus Jay White match.
Yeah, so this match was fun. So Jay White, the leader of the Bullet Club, hasn't lost in Impact since he got there. So that was the story that they were really going with, that Jay White is leading Bullet Club, but and to victories. But tonight, Bullet Club is having a rough night because Chris Bay didn't get the X Division title. And, the rough night for Bullet Club continues because Chris Sabin ends up beating Jay White in about 16 minutes. This match was fun. This match was exactly what you would think. It honestly felt like a vintage ROH, a Young Lions match, even though both of these guys are nowhere near being Young Lions anymore. But they're also telling the story that Chris Sabin was one of the people who was teaching Jay White while he was in excursion from the New Japan dojo. So it was a very good story that they were really going with. And in this case, Chris Sabin gets the upper hand, ends up beating Jay White in about 16 minutes. Very good match, very fun match, and Jay White's reaction when he lost was just absolutely shocked.
Yeah, kind of a surprising result, in my opinion, no?
Yeah, it was surprising for sure, in my opinion. Steve Macklin comes out, he beats up Sabin. The whole story with Steve Macklin right now is that he blames Impact wrestlers from for Honor No More getting the win at the last pay-per-view. So he's calling out everyone from that Impact team, and he says that he's going to beat them all up. So Chris Sabin was one of them.
Yeah, very good. That's a solid use of Steve Macklin. He's generally like a good angry guy.
Yep. All right, main event of the night. The Good Brothers, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson versus Dumb Boys, Jay and Mark Briscoe. Man, can you imagine? After having a almost 30-minute match with FTR, you have to drive across the city and face the Good Brothers that same night.
That is actually insane. And they went to war with the Briscoes.
Yeah. Let me tell you, this match was only 10 minutes, but they went to war with the Good Brothers. Honestly, this is probably the Good Brothers' best match in years.
Wow, yeah, I believe that. Sorry, they are the Briscoes. They went to war with FTR. Yes. But yeah, man, I certainly believe that because I don't have much time for the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows especially.
Yeah. Exactly, and that's the thing. Like, I usually don't really care too much for their matches, but this was a great one. This match was good. This match was vintage. It honestly felt like, ROH a few years ago. It was or a New Japan tour. It was a fun match. Like I said, only 10 minutes, but they got right to business. The story also of this match was the commentators were hyping up the fact that the Briscoes just had an epic match with FTR, and they might be a little tired.
Yeah, and that's great. You might as well call attention to it. And yeah, it is almost like, I don't know, I almost wish they didn't work that same night because it kind of maybe takes a little bit from the FTR match,
Maybe. Possibly. I think you bring up a really good point actually. I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah, right. It's a little bit of a nitpick because I didn't think of it until just right now either. So it's obviously it didn't bug me too much because it's something that just crossed my mind. But having said that, it's not like, you know what I mean? When John Jones goes to a 5-round war with an Alexander Gustafsson, he doesn't drive across town and fight in an hour. You know what I mean? It kind of, especially after that crazy match, I know you can't just take them off the next show, but I just wish they weren't booked to wrestle on the same night.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Like, and that's the thing about professional wrestling. Sometimes you do kind of have to just assume these guys, open a tin of spinach and everything is good.
Yeah, exactly right. And hey, man, honestly, if you're a hardcore enough fan to even know that the Briscoes wrestled twice on that night, you know what I mean? Then you're hooked anyway. Like it doesn't matter, it's fake.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's what it comes down to, right? So Good Brothers end up winning relatively clean after the Magic Killer in about 10 minutes. That was the Impact show. Like I said, it was a fun show. It was really a build-up towards Rebellion. And, we got some good intergender matches. We had a very entertaining X Division match. We had one of the best singles matches with Mike Bailey and Alex Shelley. Even the PCO, Josh Alexander Moose, Jonah match was fun. This show was watchable for sure. And it continues the streak of Impact hitting very good doubles.
Yeah, fair, man. It sounded like it was a really watchable show. At least 3, maybe 4, 5 really solid matches sounded like. So I'm excited to give her a watch. At the very least, Mike Bailey and Alex Shelley.
Exactly. All right, so dude, I think it's time for us to get with our gimmick, give our listeners our top 5 matches of all of WrestleMania weekend, any promotion.
Awesome. And yeah, with the knowledge that we haven't seen a lot of the GCW stuff, there's probably like 4 or 5 Mike Bailey matches that I could plug in here. But unfortunately, no Speedball on the list. Need to see some more Speedball from WrestleMania weekend. Here are the top 5 non-Speedball Mike Bailey matches from WrestleMania weekend. Number 5, Bandito versus...
All right, so...
Number 5, Bandito versus Jonathan Gresham for the Ring of Honor Undisputed title.
Bandito versus Jonathan Gresham. You're putting that number 5. Good match. I'm going to have to actually give this one to the NXT North American ladder match from Stand and Deliver. That match, is still good. And one of the only results that actually mattered.
That's an excellent point. They basically undid that entire show, but the North American ladder match at this point.
Yep. All right, number 4, Bianca versus Becky from WrestleMania Night 1.
Interesting. I'm gonna do the gimmick. We're gonna put ratings on these. So the previous match I had at 4 1/4 manias out of 5. I have this match number 4, Biff Busick versus Jon Moxley, 4 1/4 manias out of 5, and that's my number 4. Just a bloodbath.
Yeah, it was so good.
My number 3, Boris, is what you just mentioned, Becky Lynch versus Bianca Belair. But I think it's an important distinction. I have this at 4.5 stars out of 5, 4.5 manias, which we here at the podcast define as 90% out of 100, an A+, not just an A, and an all-time classic, a Hall of Fame level, perhaps. If you were to maybe one day create a Hall of Fame style podcast and induct some matches into it, 4.5 stars might be the cutoff where they might be inducted into the Hall of Fame. If that were to happen one day down the road, who knows?
One day down the road in June or July, if someone comes up with this idea for a podcast.
Yeah. Crazy how that might happen. But anyway, I thought this was a classic, one of the best women's matches, honestly, that I have ever seen in WWE.
Yeah, and we've seen some pretty good ones in WWE, especially in like the black and gold NXT days.
The black and golden era. I love it.
Yeah. All right, my number 3 match of the weekend, and I can't believe I'm actually saying this. You know exactly what I'm going to say.
I know it. I
hate it. I hate myself. But I've always said I will judge this man's matches fairly. I've never knocked his wrestling abilities. I've just knocked him. That's Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins from WrestleMania Night 1. You take that smile out of your face.
Adrenaline in my soul. Boris loves some Cody Rhodes. Oh, man. I'm so happy. I am so happy right now. You fucking turncoat. You turned on your own hatred.
I'm not at
No, man.
all.
No, I'm totally just messing with you. I'm totally just messing with you. You gotta give credit where it's due. I'm so glad. I am proud of you, Boris, to hear you say that. I'm so glad you're not just gonna stay on the bitter bus and hate Cody for no reason.
No reason. I have many good reasons to hate him. Anyways.
Fair. Anyway, that would be my number 2 match Boris. Number 2, Cody Rhodes versus Seth Rollins. Also a classic, also 4.5 out of 5. And the only reason I'm ranking it above Bianca versus Becky, because I think in ring, Bianca versus Becky was better. But the way we rate matches, Boris, with the moment, the build up, the this and that, the hoo-ha, the pyro and ballyhoo, it all counts. It's a piece of theater in our eyes, in my eyes anyway. And as a piece of theater, this was better than Bianca versus Becky. Slightly.
Yep. My number 2 match of the weekend was from ROH Supercard of Honor, the main event, title for title, Jonathan Gresham versus Bandito.
Nice. So we had largely the same list. I actually think I forgot the ladder match because I might have had, I rated that high on the podcast. Anyway.
So before we, I think it's no secret what we're going to say is number 1, but I do kind of want to give some kudos to 2 matches that I wanted to put on the list so badly, but I couldn't find exactly where. And I do think that my top 5 were my top 5, but I just want to call out these 2 matches. And the first one was Moxley versus Biff. I thought that match was incredible. Dude, we were literally at the edge of our seats watching that. Yeah. And the other match I want to call out.
Bloodbath too.
Oh, it was disgusting.
Oh, yes. Go on.
The other match I want to call out is Alex Shelley versus Speedball Mike Bailey.
Nice. Good call, buddy. Good call out for sure. Yeah, I can't say enough about that Biff versus Moxley match. 2 guys who I just absolutely love, just going in there and just working snug. Just a believable, hard-hitting wrestling bout.
Yep. Any match that you want to call out that you couldn't put on the list?
Well, there was the all-time Matt classic Vince McMahon versus Pat McAfee. That should probably be mentioned. Just kidding. Literally one of the worst matches I've ever seen. It would have placed high on our bottom 10 WrestleMania. Like that would have for sure been in the bottom 10 WrestleMania match list. That was atrocious. And I think it's worth shouting that out.
Yep. Agreed. All right. And then number 1 match of WrestleMania weekend, I guess for both of us, is what, Matt?
It's gotta be 5 Manias out of 5. That was weird. Just got a phone call directly. Was that FTR? But yeah, 5 out of 5, 100% A++. Briscoes versus FTR. Dax Harwood tweeted out, I think that was my masterpiece. And I believe Dax. I think I tend to agree. One of the greatest matches, honestly, one of the greatest tag team matches. I don't even know if it needs that qualifier that I've ever seen in my life.
No. I kind of feel that we should qualify it as a tag team match because tag team wrestling kind of gets disrespected in for the most part, right? Like people don't appreciate that art the way that FTR tries to put respect to it. Especially, and this is no slide on them, but you have the opposite side of the spectrum with the Young Bucks, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. And don't get it twisted. It's not that the Young Bucks don't have stories in their matches and don't put thought into it. But the Young Bucks are a little more of an action movie. It's a little more go, go, go. It's a little more like we do so much stuff that you can't help but get off your feet, right? FTR is a little more cerebral. They're a little more old school, if you will, Boris. And I prefer that style. Myself being a increasingly old, bitter man, I prefer that style way more.
Yeah, like to me, FTR just shows heart. Like in their matches, they show heart. And some would say they've built a good foundation for future tag team matches.
I love it. I don't think we're going to top that, buddy.
All right. So, man, that is the show. Honestly, here's the thing. WrestleMania weekend is always WrestleMania weekend. I'm always going to watch WrestleMania regardless of how into WrestleMania I am or not. Sometimes I've enjoyed the shows around WrestleMania, but I got to give credit to where credit is due. I was thoroughly sports entertained by WWE's 3 shows over the weekend.
Yeah, for sure. It was like the first WrestleMania, the first night had 2 classic matches and the awesome Stone Cold Kevin Owens thing. And the second match, the second show was a goddamn disaster, but a fun train wreck full of celebrities and nonsense and gaga.
Yeah, except for Lady Gaga.
There was no Lady Gaga, but there was a lot of gaga.
Yep. All right. So on the SNME Network tomorrow, you are going to be getting the Smack Daddies talking all things SmackDown. And then my friend, on Sunday, Mike McGuire is back. That's Mike McGuire with the flagship show, talking the week that was professional wrestling. Man, what a good time. I love wrestling so much. I love chatting wrestling. I want to thank everyone for listening, for tuning into the various shows over the weekend. I'm sure everyone is wrestlinged out, but somehow I am not. Matt, any final words?
Yeah, definitely. It's a tough weekend to digest. If you need to take a week or two just to breathe, that's very understandable. But man, at the same time, like lots of fun. The wrestling business is in a really great place right now. And yeah, we're going to be here telling you all about it. So stay tuned.
Exactly. He's Matt. I'm Boris. Until next time, adios.